everybody, it's Kate Kalthoff and it's Fab Friday. We're doing episode number 14 today. Thank you so much for joining me. We're on a Facebook Live, and of course I'll edit this, take the terrible parts out, and then I'll put it on YouTube sometime next week. But what I'm going to show you today are some really quick thank you cards, and I was inspired by some cards that we made in Thailand. And these were always cards I was going to share with you on a video, and then, you know, there's just wasn't enough time. And yet I still love the cards, and I wanted to somehow incorporate that with a Christmas theme, because in Thailand we were working with a stamp set called Painted Harvest, and we made these really, really beautiful cards using the Painted Autumn Designer Series paper. And just so that you know, the Painted Harvest stamp set and the punch at least are going to be on the carryover list going into spring. And so you can actually create many different colors of flowers. You don't have to be limited to just sunflowers. And so this is actually a pretty versatile year-round set. So I'm excited about that. But they won't be offered as a bundle. The bundle is just for the holiday catalog period, and so that ends on January 2nd. So if you'd like to save 10% and you don't already have this, I may be able to convince you today that you need it and you need to save 10%. So let me go ahead and we'll flip the camera around, and I'm going to show you the cards we made in Thailand that so inspired me for the cards that we're going to make today. Actually, the Christmas cards that we're going to make today are a version of this, but then I did a stepped up version and then even a more stepped up version. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about paper perks today, because I have a lot of customers that do take advantage of my paper perks, and I'll explain what they are and how you also can take advantage of them. So I'm going to go ahead, flip the camera around. I hope I don't go too long today. I'm thinking this is going to be a little bit longer video, because in addition to these great cards that I'm going to share with you and actually make for you, I am also going to share this really cute acetate gift card holder. And so I'll go ahead and we'll get started, and let's keep our fingers crossed that I have all the supplies that I need for this video. Otherwise, I'll be jumping up and running around. So maybe close your eyes so you don't get dizzy while I flip the camera. So let me first of all share with you the Designer Series paper. This is the one that is called Painted Autumn, and it's only available for another couple weeks. It's available until January 2nd. And of course, it's got so many different beautiful fall themes, but you don't have to go with just fall, because like this one here is just gorgeous. This could be used any time of year. And of course the back sides of these that aren't so fallish could also be used any time of year, as you can see. But let me share with you the cards that we made while we were in Thailand, and I just love them. This is the first one, and you can see it's just very easy and quick to create. And we put some vellum leaves on here just as a little extra touch. And again, here's another one. And again, you can see the vellum leaves, just so pretty. And this is the final one. And so I never did get around to recreating this video to make these three particular cards, but I am going to take the idea that Stampin' Up gave us in Thailand for the design of these cards, and we're going to make some really nice, quick thank you cards and even a stepped up thank you card. So let's go ahead and I'll show you the thank you card that we are going to recreate, and it looks like this. Sending thanks to a very gracious giver. Oops, and then I forgot to stamp the inside of my sample. So let me do that real quick since I have everything handy. This is our Cherry Cobbler ink, and I'm just going to ink up this one, and let me just stamp it in scrap paper here so I can make sure that I'm stamping it the correct direction. And we'll just put this right here. So this is such a cute little card. So if you look at it, it says, sending thanks to a very gracious giver. And then on this side it says, from a very grateful getter, which I just think is so cute and so appropriate for Christmas. And so let's go ahead and we'll recreate this card. So the first thing that you're going to need is some cherry cobbler cardstock. I scored it at 5.5 by 8.5, or I've cut it at 5.5 by 8.5, and then scored it at 4 1/4. And I'm just going to fold this towards the mountain, and then I'll take my bone folder and we'll just give that a good little press. And then we're going to need some cardstock, and so let me share with you the cardstock that we're using, or the designer series paper we're using. It's called the Be Merry Designer Series paper, and it's just great. It looks like this, and it's in our annual catalog, so this is something we can use year-round. And of course, it has the Christmassy theme on one side, and then typically the other side doesn't have such a Christmassy theme. So I'm going to share with you also what I give my customers as paper perks. So when anyone places at least a $25 order with me online and then they use the host code, I let them have a little sampler of paper. So it looks like this, so I can easily mail it in with their thank you card. And these are all cut to fit on the front of a card. So you can see how they fit perfectly on the front of a card. And they would get one of every single designer series paper in the pack. And then a card that we're going to recreate today is the perfect way to use your paper perks. So I've been giving away a lot of these Be Merry Designer Series papers this month, so maybe these cards will inspire you to use your paper perks. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take one of those Be Merry Designer Series papers, and I have it cut to 3 by 4 inches. And then I'm going to take some multi-purpose liquid glue, and we'll just run a little line all the way around. And we're going to set this in the very middle of our card front. Just give that a nice little press until that's in place. Then the next thing I have here is this is a great item, because you know how hard it is sometimes to cut banners and have that little pennant look come out just right. Well, this triple banner punch from Stampin' Up does it all, as long as your paper is 1 inch, 1.5 inches, or 2 inches wide. So this paper that we're going to use to create our little banner is 1 by 3 3/4, and all you have to do is put it into the banner punch, push it so that it's all the way to the back, give it a punch out, and you have a perfect little pennant, which is great. And it just takes all the guesswork of doing that perfect right out of the picture. So this is something that we're going to be stamping with. Let me go ahead and grab the ink here. So I'm using cherry cobbler, and I'm stamping it so that it's a little bit close there to the end of the pennant, because we're going to do a wrap on the other side. And it says, "Sending thanks to a very gracious giver." You might be wondering what stamps that I'm using. In fact, I'm wondering that too. I'm not seeing it here. Oh, you know what? I didn't have everything in place. I'm going to run over to my counter and come back as quick as possible. But the stamps that we're using is called Thankful Thoughts. And it is great. It's great for year-round thank yous. So let me go ahead and we'll do a ribbon or a little wrap of twine around this. So if you could see my desk, you would be appalled at how much stuff is on here, because we're doing a lot today on this Facebook Live. So I'm going to need about 15 inches to do this wrap. And I know that 15 inches from my thumb to the middle of my elbow. So I'm just going to assume that that's about 15 inches, which I think it is. I've made that measurement before. So then we're going to hold out on this little wrap, maybe about 4 inches, and we're going to wrap it around 3 times, and then we should have about 4 or 5 inches left. And then we're just going to do a knot, because this is kind of hard for it to stay in place. So if you do a knot with twine, it will sit around, it'll sit in place for you a little bit better. So there's our knot. We've wrapped it around 3 times, and now all we have to do is tie a bow. So I am going to do that right now. There we go. And then we'll just get that so that everything is nice and even, and we have a cute little bow. And that looks pretty good. You never know about ribbon when you're doing live video, because if there's ever a time for it to misbehave, it's probably while you're doing something live. So there we go. So we've got this all ready to go, and this is going to go on the front of our cute simple card. So I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to hope that I have some dimensionals around here. Let me check my drawer. Oh, maybe that's another thing I forgot to put on my table. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Nope, I have it right here. So we're going to set one here, and then here, and here, just to stabilize it, give it a little bit of lift. And I'll just put this right in. So we have the front of our card completed, and then the inside of our card, let me grab that. We're going to use some Whisper White paper. This is 4 by 5 1/4. And on the bottom here, we have a 1/2 inch by 4 inch piece of Coordinating Designer Series paper from the Be Merry pack. These are the little mittens. And then we can go ahead and we'll take some snail. We'll just run some snail along the top. And then we'll just set this in here. And we do want to do a little bit of stamping, so I'm going to grab my stamps. And we're going to stamp right here from a Grateful Getter. So cute. So now the rest of these cards that I'm going to put together, you'll be relieved to know that I did the stamping in advance because we're switching out colors here. But this is the first one. This is done with Cherry Cobbler to match the Cherry Cobbler background here. And then this is the inside, and it's just so adorable and so quick. So you can make like a dozen of these in no time at all. So now let's do another card that uses kind of the same design, but it's just a little bit stepped up. So let me show you what this one looks like. So now we're going to use some early espresso paper, again cut at 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 and scored at 4 1/4. I'm just going to take that off, and we're going to again use my bone folder, provided I haven't misplaced it. Here it is. You know what I need to do is I need to start putting things in my bucket. I have a bucket. It looks like this. And I just keep some very basic supplies in here, like my ribbon scissors, my regular scissors, my snail, my paper snips, my glue dots, and my bone folder. And that way, if I actually put it in there, I'll be able to find it. So hopefully that is not going to be a problem now for the rest of the video. So now to step up this version, again, we have our Be Merry Designer Series paper cut at 3 by 4 inches, and we are going to take some glue, and we are going to be putting this onto a piece of Cherry Cobbler that's cut 1/8 inch larger. So it's 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. So we'll just set this right on here. Now this is one of those papers that, you know, you can pretty much go any direction with it because the pattern is pretty much all over the place. However, if you have a bigger item on here, like this little star, which is kind of a focal point, I want to make sure that that is to the top, because everything else doesn't really matter so much, but that sort of catches your eye, these 3 items here. So I want to make sure those all sort of go to the top. And the next thing we're going to do is just use some snail again, or some multi-purpose liquid glue, not snail, glue. We're going to set this in again so that all 4 borders are pretty much even. And this is pretty easy because then we just did the exact same thing. We said sending thanks to a gracious giver, and I already have my dimensionals on here. And I have it already wrapped, and all we have to do is set this just like so. So cute. And then the inside panel is, again, a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Whisper White. And there's a 1/2 inch by 4 inch strip of Coordinating Designer Series paper at the bottom. And then I stamped in early espresso from a Grateful getter. And then we're going to take our snail and just run a little strip along the top, and we have our second card ready to go. So that one is done. So here was the first one, and here was the second one. And you can see this one's just a little bit more stepped up. So now let's go ahead and do the third one, which is quite a bit more stepped up. So again, we're going to start, if I can grab all the supplies here. We're going to start with our card base. So this time we're using garden green paper. It's 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, scored at 4 1/4. And again, we'll use the bone folder so it lies flat for us. And this time we've got even more layers. So we have, again, a 3 by 4 inch piece of designer series paper of the Be Merry. And then this is going to be put on top of a garden green panel that's 1/8 inch larger. So that's all pretty familiar because we did that on our last card. So let's go ahead and add our multi-purpose liquid glue and set this in. Again, the reason I like using the glue on this particular thing is when it is such a skinny little border, the glue helps you get all of those border edges nice and even. Then we're going to be mounting this on top of a cherry cobbler piece, and this is a 1/4 inch larger than this piece was. So your measurements are going to be 3 3/8 by 4 3/8. And again, we're just going to use some glue to put this down. We'll set this in, wiggle it into place. And then this whole works goes onto the front of our card, just like so. And again, we can go ahead and just make sure that pretty much all of our edges are, everything's nice and even, which looks good. And then the inside panel, again, is not going to vary very much. This is 4 by 5 1/4. And then I have a 1/2 inch by 4 inch strip of the same designer series paper that's on the outside, just to kind of carry that theme through. And then also stamped in garden green is our inside sentiment. And so I'm going to take my snail, run that along the top, and then we'll just add this to the inside panel, just like so. All right, so now to actually step this up a little bit from the last one, I went ahead and in advance, if I can grab it here, I went to the Big Shot machine and using my Pretty Pines Thinlit dies, there's some beautiful pine bows. And I thought that would be nice with this particular designer series paper because you have all these pretty pine trees in the background. And so what I did is I used my magnetic, or this is not my magnetic platform, it's my regular Big Shot platform that sits on my Big Shot machine. I used the thin die adapter, then I have my cut plate, and then my top plate, and ran it through with silver foil. And now I'm just going to take this out. So the die slips out really easy, you can see. And I've used, actually I shouldn't say that this is silver, this is our platinum foil that came in the spring catalog, or the fall catalog. So is it platinum or is it champagne? It's champagne, I'm sorry, it's not platinum, it's champagne foil from the fall catalog. Good gravy. I tell you, doing Facebook Live, you guys really get to see me do lots of oops-ups. When I'm just doing this all regular in front of just me and the camera, I get to edit all of those out, but that's not so easy when you're live. So you just have to take me as I am, all my mistakes and everything. So here's one of the larger bows, and then this is going to be the smaller one. So I'm just using a paper piercing tool to get this started here, and then I can pull it out. And there we go. We have our beautiful champagne colored pine bows. All right, so where are we going to put these? We are going to put these onto our card so that it looks like that. Except I think I'm going to switch them. We're going to have one about right here. We want it kind of coming off the edge. And to put it down, I'm going to use my favorite trusty Scotch tape. And then to do this one, the same thing. I'm just going to set it where I think it looks nice and pretty. add a little Scotch tape because that's going to be covered up by our sentiment. So there it is. And then the sentiment, I already did that in advance. And I have the string already tied, and I just have to take the dimensional peelies off, and then we'll set this right on the card. So even though this is stepped up from the other two designs, you can see it really doesn't take much longer. So we'll set this in here so that our banner is about even here on the right side. Give that a little press. Oops, that's a little bit crooked. There we go. And that is our stepped up version. Isn't it cute? Oh my gosh, I just love it. Okay, so here is the stepped up version. Let me see if I can get them all back in the picture for you. Then I have the one that's not quite as stepped up, and then of course the very, very simple one. So here's all three cards. So here's the first one that I did, the second one that I did, and the third one. And they're just all so gorgeous and so quick. So I know, and I know a lot of you are probably making some nice comments, and I truly appreciate it, but I can't look. I'll get all distracted. So I will, I just want you to know I truly appreciate it. Thank you for joining me today. Now we are going to talk about our gift card holder here. So this is really, really cute. And we are using our acetate boxes. These are clear boxes from Stampin' Up! That hold cards and envelopes. So you can get about 5 cards and envelopes if they're not too fat. And so, for example, you could put all of these cards in there with their envelopes and maybe even a couple more and get it to close up, do a cute little wrap, and it'd be great. But you can also use them for darling, darling gift card holders, which is what I did here. Let me show you the stamp set that I used. It's called Festive Phrases, and it looks like this. It's so cute. It has something for Halloween, for Valentine's Day, Christmas, and then kind of another Christmassy one. So let's go ahead and I'll teach you how to do this one. So again, we are sticking with our theme here. We're using the Be Merry Designer Series paper, and we're going to use the one that has the stripe on it. This one right there. And we cut it so that it's 2 by 12 inches, because that's going to be our wrap. And I should show you what the inside looks like, so you know what we're going with here. And you pull it out, and ta-da! There's the gift card holder all in a, isn't it adorable? And then on this side, you've got plenty of room to write a little note. So much fun. So we're going to recreate that. Actually, I'm not going to try and put that back in because I need to show you what we're doing here. So this is the one we're going to recreate. Here's the one we're creating onto. I'm going to remove my 2 by 12 inch sticker, and we're going to do a wrap. So we can just go ahead and we'll squeeze that all the way around. So that's how I do wraps, especially if it's thick cardstock, I might try to score it. But because it's designer series paper, it's pretty flexible, so I can just get in there and just kind of squeeze it around each of these edges as I go. All right, now this looks like it's coming out a little far, so to be on the safe side, I'm just gonna trim like maybe a ½ inch off here. There we go. Then, my glue. I'm going to use a little glue just to close up that tab. So put a little glue right there and close that up. Now at this point, your little wrap can still be moved up or down. Whoops. And that's okay. Okay, so that's what it looks like, and it's pretty loose, but we'll be fixing that in a little bit. It doesn't hurt that it moves around because it isn't really going to matter because it's going to get all stuck down in a second. All right, so let me show you the big shot items that we use to create that, or to create the tag. So here is what I did. I took the Lots of Labels Framelits, and I cut one out with the cherry cobbler. And you can see that I used the second to the largest framelit. So the second to the largest framelit is what I used from Lots of Labels, using cherry cobbler ink. And then look at all these little dimensionals. That's because not only is this going to hold my tag in place, but it's going to hold that right now it's kind of that movable wrap, so that's going to keep that wrap in place. So we just want to make sure that that's pretty much in the center, and then we want to make sure that our lots of labels tag piece is pretty much in the center, and that looks good. So we'll just press that down, and now this wrap is not going anywhere, as you can see. All right, so then the next thing that we are going to do is do a little stamping. So once again, I went to the Big Shot machine, and using my stitched shape framelits, I took some Whisper White paper and I used the very largest circle to get this really pretty stitch shape. And the stitch shape is just something that probably doesn't show up nearly as awesome on video, but it looks so cool in real life. So then we're going to bring in some Cherry Cobbler ink, and we're going to take that Festive Phrases stamp, the one with all the Christmas lights on. We're going to ink that up and just set that pretty much right in the middle of that stitch shape cutout. There it is. So cute. And now to put this on, we're going to give that a second to dry. So let me do a little more decorating, provided I can find it. So you know, sometimes Stampin' Up! Gives us some pretty big embellishments. So this is a, I don't know, can you see? It's really, it sticks out a long ways. So it's not something I'm going to mail on a card. However, I love using those bigger embellishments when I do 3D projects. So I can just take one of these bigger ones that I probably wouldn't use on a card, and we can use them on something like this, a little gift. And these are our metal edged pearls. I think that's what they're called. So I'm just going to take this. I can use my little paper piercing tool to pull off that backing, and these are actually self-stick, so you don't have to put a glue dot on them. They already have the adhesive on them. I'm just going to set one at the top, and then we'll do the same thing at the bottom. Whoops. Wow. There we go. Okay, so then we'll put the other one right here. All right, now this is nice and dry, so let's go ahead and add some dimensionals. I tell you, the dimensionals are just getting away on me today. Here they are. And I think we're going to put them right here. I don't necessarily want to put them on my circle. This is nice and sturdy. So we'll put 4 dimensionals onto our label, and then we will add our Merry and Bright, just like so. Isn't it pretty? Oh, I love it. I love it. Here's the other one. So you can see they're the same. But now, how do we make this little piece for our gift card? So let me show you how we do that. We are going to use, as your backing, you are going to want some Whisper White paper. This is cut 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then we have a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of early espresso. And I'm just going to use some snail to put this down. And we'll just set this in right over the top. Make sure all 4 borders are nice and even before you give that a good press. And then it's just a matter of wrapping a ribbon. And you are going to use this, well, you can use any ribbon you have on hand. I happen to use this little cross-stitch Cherry Cobbler ribbon. It's not called cross-stitch. What is it called? Double-stitched ribbon. So you have little double stitches on the back side and little crosses on the front side. And you just wrap it around. I don't think I'm going to do this because I'm not really good at doing this. I can try. So let me see. Maybe it'll work. So we will just go like that. I'll put my finger down. We'll say a little prayer, because I'm just not the greatest at doing this. But I think it worked, sort of. All right, so you get the idea. So you just do it like this. And then you do the exact same thing on the top. And then you put your gift card in the middle. Now, to make sure that this doesn't move around, once you have it all centered so that when you put your box over the top, you have those cute little ribbon kind of coming out from the back. You can kind of see that. Once that's all centered in and you have your ribbon exactly where you want it, just put a glue dot under the knot and that will keep it in place. So when it's put in and out of the box, it won't move around. So I'll show you what I mean. We're just going to set this in. And there it is. Isn't it adorable? I just love it. So that's how you do it. So I think I'll just leave it at that. And before I go, I do want to give you one quick little plug. My customers have been telling me that they have been getting in the mail their Love It, Live It, Share It Spring Catalog, which looks like this. It's wonderful. It starts on January 3rd, 2018. And then, of course, along with that, starting January 3rd and going through March 31st is our celebration catalog. And so if you are one of my customers and have not received this, let me know and I will make sure that you get some. Now you have to, I know the people on the East Coast, it takes a little longer, so you may have to wait a little bit longer, but if you don't have it by, you know, January 2nd or so, I need to get one of these in the mail to you. And if you are not one of my current customers and you are looking for a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and are not already working with someone else, be sure to message me, and if you send me your address, I'll be sure to get a couple of these in the mail to you so that you can have your own personal copy in your hands. So I think that's it for today. Here's the thing we made, the cute little gift card we made, and then of course I showed you all of these adorable things that we did in Thailand, and then all of our cute goodies that we created today. So I'll just throw those out so you can see them all at one time. So thank you so much for being a part of my demonstration today. I truly appreciate you and hope to see you around soon on another Fab Friday. Bye-bye.